What's going on, dividend chasers? Welcome to the second episode of Buying Our First Home. In this episode we're going to hopefully update you on what's happened over the last week and what we've got coming in the next couple of weeks on our home buying journey. If this video does bring you some value, please hit the like button in the corner over here. Or if you're brand new to this channel and you really like what I do and you're interested in investing or our journey in buying a first home, then do hit the subscribe button and even hit that notification bell if you're feeling super kind. That being said, let's
roll the intro.
What's going on again, guys? Welcome into the video. In this episode we're going to give you an update on what happened over the last week, and we have some pretty big news there, and then we're going to tell you our plans going forward as to what happens next on this journey. That being said, I'm going to hand you over now.
Hi everybody, welcome back. So if you didn't catch our live video, you should probably watch that first to see what we were dealing with last week. Since then we have had some news and we wanted to share with you. Our offer had actually been accepted after much deliberation from the vendors.
Finally.
It took about 3 days before they got back to us. So we were on edge all of that time.
Nervously waiting.
Yeah, so it has been accepted, and it's hard when you go through that kind of thing, I would say, because you automatically kind of lose trust or lose a bit of faith. So now I feel like I'm gonna be on edge up until we exchange properly and we're sitting in the living room with a cup of tea, and then we can
until exchange of contracts, really. But there isn't anybody else to view said property now, so there shouldn't be any more hiccups in that area. But as was mentioned, it just knocks your trust a little bit in them, where they've taken a while and reconsidered another offer. So obviously we feel a little bit anxious around that point.
Yeah, but since the offer was accepted, I've had a look around for some solicitors, and I've had to shop around a little bit because I think I said in the last video that the price varies so much with them. I'm talking £500 sometimes, and you don't want to just go for the cheapest, but try and get the balance right between not being ripped off but also getting a company that will get the work done.
Getting value for money. We've
decided to go with a company that our family knows, so we kind of got the best of both worlds there. They did want a deposit being paid before they were instructed, so that's also something to bear in mind. It does cost some deposit before you even before they carry out their work. And then after that I spoke to our broker, and he took us through our mortgage application. Had a lot of questions to answer there, but because I'd already secured the AIP, then that actually really helped us get moving along with our mortgage application.
Do be prepared in that when you do go on your own home buying journey. Do be prepared to have your AIP in place, and make sure that you've got your bank statements and your proof of earnings ready as well. That is so important right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Even solicitors and your broker, they all want last 3 months of your bank statements. They want your ID, and obviously kind of the salary, your salary and etc. for to gauge what kind of mortgage you can get. Another thing to consider are the different types of insurances. I had no idea how many types of insurances there are, and I've still not gone through all of them, and I still need to, we need to discuss that in the next week and make a decision.
Income cover, critical illness cover, life insurance, the list just goes on. I think there's about 6 or 7 options to take out, maybe
there's
more.
A bunch.
And it's really worth taking time. Don't be bullied into making a decision on the spot. I know there's supposed to be a cooling off period anyway, but you need to take time to make the decision on that, because it is a big decision. If you don't want the insurance, by all means don't take it, but you need to know the ramifications of doing so, where the worst to happen, but at the same time you don't want to be ripped off paying £50-60 a month or more for insurance that ultimately you're probably not going to need. It's about getting the balance right with that one, I think.
I'm a sucker as well. I always believe salesmen, so I think that, oh, maybe I do need this, maybe I do need that. One thing to note is that building insurance is mandatory, so by law you have to get building insurance because the building essentially does not belong to you, it belongs to the mortgage company. So just bear in mind, and that usually comes along with contents insurance as well, and both of them are usually kind of bought hand in hand. It is, I think we're going to potentially get both. I think it covers you all round. And then life insurance and income and critical illness and the like are all kind of optionals. They all have their individual add-ons as well, and I know that critical illness and income also can come as a duo, and you can, if you did get income insurance as well as critical illness insurance, you can vary how much you pay. So you could get your income insurance and pay kind of 100% for your critical illness, or 50 or 25%, and the less you cover yourself, the less you have to pay, essentially. But it is variable. That's also something to bear in mind. It is something that you should consider and know the facts about. We are still reading about it, we're still finding out about it, so we haven't made a decision yet. I've just said to my broker, I just need some time to get my head around it. It's all new to me. I need to think about it, right?
Yeah, we both do, really, because it's an awful lot of money that you could end up paying for something that you might need. You also might go your whole life without ever needing it. One thing I will say on buildings and contents insurance, they do come hand in hand. You can buy them separately, but for most people a home is the most valuable thing that they buy. And then what do you do when you buy a home? You tend to stick your most valuable possessions within them four walls, so the contents will cover all of that. The contents cover will cover all of that, but you will need to be honest with the insurer about just how much those possessions are worth. If you've got an antique clock worth £10,000, then you're going to need to declare that, and you're going to have to pay the higher premium on that, because if, God forbid, you had a house fire and that got burnt to shreds and it was worth £10,000, without proof of it being there, the insurance company won't pay.
And going back to solicitors, so what you would expect once you've instructed them is a bunch of questionnaires. They want to know where the funds are coming from. They want to know quite a lot. Obviously they want to know quite a lot. Now with us, because we aren't selling a property, it's been quite simple. So we have only had to deal with one questionnaire and a couple of sheets that we need to fill out. Whereas we have some friends and they've kind of been up to their neck in paperwork because they're selling a place, they're the vendor for their house that they're buying, and the people that are buying their house. So because the chain's bigger, you have more paperwork. For us, luckily we're not in that position, so the paperwork is pretty straightforward, I think, in comparison. Just another thing to bear in mind. And then lastly, so I've tried to follow up a little bit on the vendors, so we've not really heard much from them since last week. So I've asked our estate agents for the sale notification letter, and this will provide us with the vendor's details and the solicitor's details, just so we have that handy and we can pass that on as well to our solicitors, and then they can all deal with each other, and hopefully we won't need to do too much.
Fingers crossed, eh?
So that's where we're at the moment, and besides all of the documentation and everything like that, we've been getting excited ourselves.
Yeah, been starting to make our own plans. One thing I will say is that we've when you do buy a property, you will be offered a few different types of survey. So you can go full ham, full fat basically, and buy a full structural survey and home buyers report for your property, or at the other end of the spectrum you can have just a valuation done, and there's a wide difference in the amount that will cost. So a valuation will only cost you a couple of £100. A full structural survey by a structural engineer or structural surveyor will cost you well over £1,000. It all depends on the age of your property, the condition of the property, as to how much you'd want to spend and what you would get done. If you lived in a house that was, or were potentially buying a house that was 200, 300, 400 years old and showed signs that it was aging and there was cracks present or whatever, you may want to go full ham and get a structural survey done, because you need to know that property, even though it has stood for 300 years, you need to know that it's going to stand for at least the time that you're going to be in it, but preferably another 300 years basically. We've dropped on, so you've got the high end, you've got the low end, and then there's a middle spectrum called the home buyers report, with or without valuation. We haven't decided totally where we're going with that, whether we have the valuation or whether we don't, because you're going to get it valued anyway by a surveyor from the bank anyway, to get hold of the mortgage, to make sure that they're putting their money, they're loaning the money on an asset that's actually worth that amount of money. But yeah, we're going to settle somewhere in the middle there on a home buyers report, which will give us the best of both worlds really. It's not going to cost the earth. I think it only costs about £500 or so, but it will give you a really good amount of information about the property and have somebody come over it. And even though it's had our eyes on it, it gives another second set of eyes basically that will properly have a look at it, because the vendor isn't going to tell you where things are going wrong or problems that are with it, and the agent is certainly not going to do that either. They're just interested in selling the property. So you need someone that's impartial and neutral to tell you exactly the ins and outs and how good the property actually is, and that's exactly that's what you're paying for with a home buyers report. It's a very good warm blanket around you to know that you're buying something worthwhile and you're not buying a turkey basically.
Yeah, and if something did come up and you thought, oh, actually this has really affected the value of the property potentially, or your decision, you can pull out, and you may have lost some money with your solicitors, maybe with your broker and with the home buyers, but you know, you could lose a whole lot more if you did go through with the purchase and you had to deal with that problem.
Yeah.
So that is another thing to bear in mind. It does help people determine if they really do want to buy the property.
The other thing you could do is, if it does throw something up, you can go back to the vendor and say, we want a discount on that because that's not on, and then you can try and, not saying that you should, but if something comes up, if something genuinely comes up and it would affect the value of the property, or it's going to cost you a certain amount of money to fix, there's two ways you can do it. You can either tell the vendor that they have to get it fixed before you will go through with the sale, or you get them to knock the price down by that much and then you do the job when you exchange of contracts.
With all of that being said, I mean, please do get excited about buying a property as well. We don't want this to sound
We're not
really
trying to scare
draining
people. It's not too stressful, honest.
But we are also really excited. We've drawn up some plans about how we may want to renovate the property when we move in. For example, at the moment we're looking at doing an open plan potentially, and where we're making the lounge and the kitchen kind of one room. We're thinking that it's a stud wall, hoping it's a stud wall.
Go and knock on it.
So we are planning as well. We're planning some furniture, we're planning what it's going to be like to move in, we're planning our garden area, especially when it's so sunny outside. Being in an apartment, we miss out on having outdoor space. And
we miss the garden, don't we?
We do miss the
green
garden.
space at the moment.
And we're growing a lot of plants as well at the moment, so we grow our own vegetables. Having a lot of tomatoes at the moment, which is really good. We've got a cucumber on the way, so we're probably going to get a greenhouse, a little greenhouse.
Yeah, we're doing the garden as well, by the way, if that's not obvious. We've got big plans for the whole house, but in particular the lounge, kitchen and garden and the ensuite to the bedroom upstairs, or our bedroom, the master bedroom. Yeah.
So we are also really looking forward to it. There is obviously that overhanging feeling that something could go wrong, so you don't want to get too excited, I feel, and
True,
even our friends that are buying a place, they still don't want to get too ahead of themselves, even though they're further along. And it is kind of just a bit of a bittersweet process because you're always on edge.
Yeah.
And I hate it when I have an email from the estate agents. I don't want to look because, you know.
Yeah, get excited, make your plans, but just remain I don't know. Just be realistic about it as well. Just don't get your whole heart set on it, because something could come along and ruin your day basically. But we think that we're past that sort of a point now, really, especially when we get past the home buyers report as well, and we really get, if that doesn't throw anything up, there's really nothing else then until exchange that should stop it being ours basically. We do need to remain vigilant on that route. I'm not trying to scare anybody. It is a serious process, of course. It is an awful lot of money. It is essentially changing hands from ours to the solicitor, to the banks, to the vendor, all of that. So it is a very serious process, but it's a process that you can actually get really excited about and have a little bit of fun with as well. And we think that bringing you guys this vlog essentially of our journey is another good way to do that. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Thank you for coming on this journey with us. We hope to bring you as many episodes as we can along the way when there's actually decent news to tell you. Do please hit the like button if this video has brought you some value. It really does help us and the channel out massively. All I've got to say is it's been a pleasure to bring you this video. Thank you for watching, and it's goodbye from us, really. Bye bye.
See you later, everybody.